Hi, this is Lady Lex UK, and this is another Dreams Gadget tutorial. Hello, adult creators of the Dreamiverse. Here is movers and outputs, and we've got as far as the emitter. Here is our emitter here. Right, so you can see from the gadget that this is intended to represent projectiles, and most tutorials that you'll see for the emitter will concentrate on the projectile possibilities of the emitter for firing out bullets and things like that. And yes, that is what it does, but it is a little bit more powerful than that, and I'm going to show you something a little bit later on. But let's start off with the obvious. The emitter as a projectile creator. So you will need to use an emitter to create things that fire out, so things like cannons and guns, etc. So what this will do, it will be creating an object into our Dreamiverse from apparently nowhere, and will fire it in a direction of your choice. So let's create something to fire. Let's create our projectile. So here is a sphere. Let's just pop that down. We don't want to make it too big. I'll do. Okay, so there is our sphere. So without changing any of the defaults, we will just select object to emit, and you'll see you'll get a dotted line, and we're going to select our object. So there we go. And immediately you can see a gizmo has appeared. It's appeared on the object as it is in your world where you've placed it. But you can move this. So it will move your object with it at this point. So just grab and move, and you say, well, okay, I want it to emit from this position. And this is the direction in which it will push your object, emit your object. And we're going to put that straight up for now. So it's going to be created and move straight up. So let's have a look and see what that does. Excuse me. As you can see, immediately the object disappeared, and then it started creating these spheres. And as you can see, they are firing up like so. And they act as objects that interact with physics, and they'll bounce off each other, and they'll land on the floor there. Now you'll notice it's now stopped creating them. The reason for that is because this slider here, this is max emitted at once. This is the amount of the objects that this particular emitter will emit of this particular object at any one time in the scene. So there's 20 of them there. So let's reduce this down to a smaller number. Reset it and go again. So now it's going to make 5 spheres. There we go. It's made 5. And that's it. Now, if I was to change the lifetime of the object, let's change it to 8.8 seconds, right? And go again. So it's going to create our 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it's going to create another one. As they're being destroyed, it's always going to try and keep 5 in the world. Now, if you saw my tutorial on combat mechanics, when I was making my little mini game there with a monster coming out of a cave, you'll see I used this. So this max emitted at once as the creatures were being destroyed. It would produce another one out of the cave. Now, this is going to do this forever, but I can set a max emitted, so I can say, okay, I want you to stop once you've emitted 20 of these. So let's start again. So we've created 5. Okay. Now 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now it should stop. Won't make any more. Even though these are now being destroyed and have gone. There we go, it's stopped. So you can limit how many of these things that you're creating at any point, how long they last in the world, how many you can have in the world at any one time, and the maximum this particular emitter will emit, full stop. Okay, so that's what all of those sliders do. It makes a big difference. This slider here is the time between the emits. Now, I did it so it's 1 second, but you can slide this around so that you can have them emitting straight away. No time between the emits. They all emit at the same time. So they'll all be destroyed at the same time. There we go. So if you wanted something that spouts things a regular time period being the emitted object lifetime, it's a bit like a volcano or something. There we go. And you can obviously use the time between emits input with some sort of randomizer or signal generator or whatever to change this so that you get more of a random thing. Let's put that on there like that. Let's put a signal manipulator in. A signal generator actually. No, let's put signal generator in. There we go. There we are. So this is going to create a random signal. Okay, that's going to create a random signal. And we're going to put that into there like that. Right, let's see what that does. This is now randomly creating our spheres. So that signal generator is changing the time between emits. Or we can use it down here and change the object emitted lifetime. You notice these are really big numbers, but you get a randomization. So you can feed the left-hand side with random signals, random numbers, and you can change all of these settings during the game that will make a huge difference to what this emitter actually does. What you can't change is whether it's continuous or once without using a keyframe. So if you wanted to change this to this, you'd have to use a keyframe change. And you can't change the object to emit. This is always going to produce only one of these, and that is it. If you want to emit a different object, you're going to need a new emitter. Recycling emitted objects. You see immediately I hit that. It is trying to create this object by recycling the one that went before, and you get this weird effect. It sort of looks a bit flame-like. So if you made a shape that was a little bit more flame-like and you did this, you might get an interesting flickering flame effect with the emitter. So that's an interesting idea. It's amazing what you can find the emitter doing. You notice that was quite violent when I turned it back on. Right, in terms of speed then, here is the emit speed. This is how violently that's going to shoot out of there. Like so. And this is a rotation speed. So this thing is now going to spin. It's a bit hard to see how the changes are affected with this quite so high. Let's turn it down. It's amazing how violently things emit at different speeds, etc. There we go. This is a bit more explosive now that we've started fiddling about with these. See, they're now spinning, so they have more momentum, and so they're more violently shooting out of our emitter. So changing these can be a little bit of an issue. So be very careful with these, and when you're using a bullet, obviously you want quite a high emit speed. But this is a dodgy one. As you can see, it made everything fire off in all sorts of weird directions. Ignore parent speed. If you have got the emitter on something that's moving, it's going to be affected by how fast the parent object, the object that is moving in, and obviously laws of physics. If you fire from a moving a vehicle and you fire, there's going to be some forward momentum carried through. You can turn that off so that it doesn't have that forward momentum. So you know exactly what you're doing, but you will have to experiment with this to see if you do actually need that with your gun or not. So there we go. There's the emitter. That's what you would normally set this thing up to do. But I want to show you something else that is extremely useful for the emitter. And let's just turn that down to 0. Time between emits down to 0. Emitted object lifetime 4. We're going to put that to 1. And max emitted we're going to set to 1. No, we're going to set it to maximum. Why not? There we go. And we're going to set this to once. Okay, let's delete this. Whoops, not that. Right. If you want to change the object that you're going to emit, you need to press triangle, and that's released that. Okay. It's interesting, we've still got the gizmo, even though we've not got our object anymore, because I've deleted it. So when I put a new object in, we'll see what happens with that gizmo and the angle when we do it. Right, so I'm going to put in a house. There's our house, and I'm going to emit it. See, it immediately went down to where the previous gizmo is. So it probably is a good idea to actually delete. If you've done what I've just done, you would actually delete and start with a brand new fresh emitter. That's probably your easiest bet. But anyway, I've placed the house now where I want it. Okay, and I'm going to create another floor at the back there. Right. Now, this is going to emit a house. So I'm going to put in a trigger zone. I'm going to make it square. I'm going to place it. Just need it. Okay, that's covered our square. Let me just a bit forward. There we go. Right. So we have a trigger zone now on our square. And I'm going to link, let's just close that off. I'm going to link the detected on that trigger zone to the power on our emitter. And we're going to look for a possessed control sensor. So let's put down a player. Like so. And let's put another trigger zone over here. I'm not being particularly accurate with this. That'll do. Okay, and we're going to link the detected up to this second page on the emitter, which is destroy emitted objects. This is going to destroy all of our emitted objects when we're in that trigger zone. So let's go into play mode. As you see, there is no house. I will possess my character. Now, the detection zone has found my character. I've gone into this other trigger zone and it's destroyed it. Go back into this trigger zone and it creates the house again. So you can imagine, if you plan your world out correctly, as your player moves through your scene, you can destroy objects that you created, scenery, landscape, etc., that you created that you can no longer see, and this will reduce your gameplay thermometer and help in case you've got lag issues. So if we go back into edit mode, you can see our gameplay is at 6%. If I go into test mode, right, so you can see there's plus 4% immediately because I've created. Let's see if we can actually let's exit this mode. Let's see if we can show the thermometer. There we go. That gives. So at the moment we're at 10% gameplay. Let's go back into test mode. Right. So as soon as I walk into this trigger zone, it goes down by 4%. That gameplay thermo. So at this point, because we've got so few items in our level, it's not going to really that much difference to lag or anything else. But if you have a lot of things in your level, it's just minus 4% for this one house. Let's say if you had a whole town, that is going to make a massive difference to you, even to the point where you might not be able to create stuff in your level before. It wouldn't let you. Now it can, because we are emitting a whole section of the level, and now we're destroying a whole section of the level. So you had lots of emitters emitting an entire town. You would link that trigger zone to each of those emitters and destroy the objects. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at the emitter's second page and see what is on there. So we've gone through all the things up here. Let's have a look at this. What does this do? Right, so first of all, you have object just emitted and an output socket. If I hover over this, this is what it says. Sends a signal each time an object is emitted. This just sends a one signal. Now you can add this to a counter. So you can count how many objects have been emitted. And you can use this as like a scoring mechanism, if you like, or a counter for something like limited ammo. So you can add it to a counter counting down. So every time you fire a bullet, it counts down on a counter, so that you can create an ammo counter. This one, scene space direction. Right, this can be used to input a fat wire carrying a signal representing the direction you want an object to be emitted in. So you can change, whoops, at the moment we've got a gizmo, and that tells you which direction to fire in, and you can't auto a gizmo within the game. But this allows you to do that with a scene space direction. So you need a fat wire with 3 numbers in for the X, Y, and Z coordinates. Send that into there, and that will change that arrow, which we haven't got at the moment because we've set it to emit speed of 0. But there we go. That arrow there, it will change the orientation of that with a wire into this scene space direction. So you want an X, Y, Z. So that's a 3-way combiner. I did a tutorial on the combiner and splitter, and I didn't really go into it in any great detail. But you can create numbers with an X, Y, Z coordinate using the where is it? You could use the variable, or you could use a value slider. So if I got a value slider here like this could be the X coordinate, and then you have another one for the Y, another one for the Z, and then you would take a combiner like so. Make sure this is either like a X, Y, Z like that, or just a 3 ABC. It doesn't really matter as long as there's 3 signals that go in. You put all of your signals into A, B, and C, one for each, and then that fat wire then goes into there, and that will change. As you see, immediately that's changed that to that direction. Yeah, it was up right before, but now it's there. So let's create there we go. You can see immediately this is changing that direction of that, even without the Z coordinate, which there we go, it's changed that, so it's moved slightly in as well. As you can see, as I change this, that's changing in that direction. That's changing that direction. And that's changing that direction. So you can dynamically change the direction in which this will emit stuff with value sliders. And those value sliders, obviously, there are other ways of getting numbers with button presses, etc. So this is how you would change it. Scene space transform. Let's hover over that one. Input a fat wire presenting position, orientation, and scale. You can dictate where the object is emitted from, what direction it's facing in, and how big it is. So again, you would create a fat wire with all the different information, and that changes where the object is being emitted from. So there we go. And this one is the scale. So C is the scale in this case. So I can make it smaller and bigger. This is the X. This is the left and right. And this is the up and down. So you can see how you can change dynamically the position, the angle, all of that. We've already seen this in use. This will destroy all the emitted objects that this particular emitter has created. As soon as you wire into that, they're gone. This emit with wires. If the object you pick to emit has any wires going in and out of it, enabling this will clone not only the object but also its wires. So if you, that's self-explanatory. So you click on this if the object is a microchip with wires, has a microchip with wires. You don't want to just clone the object. You want to clone the object and its microchip and all its wires. So you click on that, and that sorts that out for you. So there you go. That is the emitter, and it is a very powerful gadget, as you can see. So you can create things that are in position, that don't move. You don't have to have an emit speed at all, so they can just appear. Or you can have things that are shooting out at all directions, and you can dynamically change where they emit from and where they emit to, also the size of it dynamically with these particular sections and fat wires. So it is very, very powerful. I hope I haven't gone through that too fast and that's bamboozled some of you, but there you go. There's the emitter. Hope that was useful for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in your dreams.